Thank you for joining us today. Let's introduce our next guest.
Our guest today is Sierra Warren, a strategist and researcher dedicated to exploring the intersection of AI development and human connection. With a background that weaves together instructional design, business marketing, and hospitality leadership, Sierra specializes in translating complex algorithmic systems into ethical, teachable tools. Whether she's designing learning experiences for college audiences or refining AI prompt design, her work is always anchored in one question: how do we evolve alongside the technology we create? Welcome and thank you for listening in to this episode of Next Up with NAMIC St. Louis podcast. This week we have a really interesting podcast for you. We'll be speaking with Sierra Warren. Sierra, welcome and thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So I'll just ask before we get started, can you just give us a bit of an introduction of yourself?
Sure. My name is Sierra Warren, and I'm someone who finds the most joy in artificial intelligence and the governance behind that, whether I'm designing and building or whether I'm actually going in on the back end and integrating those systems and algorithms. I'm driven by a curiosity for how things work. So I'm a systems engineer. I have the systems engineering background, but I'm also a digital architect. So I like to connect with people and use my creative expression to build and essentially um, create a way to implement the things that I do build. My journey has taken me from, you know, the worst of the worst to the best of the best. Honestly, I couldn't explain it any broader than that. Like the worst possible case scenario you could think of to the best position a person could possibly be in mentally and physically. So,
I
but
love
at my
that.
core, I'm just a person who values, kindness, efficiency, and accountable intelligence.
I like that. I like that. Well, I'm super excited to talk to you because, so many of our episodes that we've had previously, in at some point during the episode, right, we focused a lot on telecommunications in media, right? NAMIC, that's kind of what we do. Um, but at some point in within the episode, right, within the conversation, we end up at AI, right? Because it's such a transformational thing. And it's not even kind of nice, it's really nice to actually be able to talk to somebody who knows what that means, right? From my perspective, I'm like, oh, I know how to use Gemini or ChatGPT, and I know a little bit about the back end and some of the things that go into it. It's programming, it's algorithms, but you know, people have all this fear about AI, and being able to talk to you about some of this stuff is I think going to be very eye-opening for people. Um, so to get started, I know that of course, you're in AI governance. You operate at the intersection of industrial systems and AI governance. When you look at today's AI landscape, where where are organizations still thinking too small about systems, and what are they missing?
Mm. So I think that today a large thing that people are missing is the human bridge. So the metacognition and the digital divide. Like the access to AI is scaled faster than our ability to regulate our attention.
Mm,
And I think that that's a huge thing. So it's not really like the metacognition, speaking on metacognition, it isn't as a speech, but as a skill stack. So like
mhm,
awareness, agency, connection, and then creation.
mhm,
And I think that a lot of people have that fear. And what they're missing though is that don't look at it as I mean, have your views, but don't look at it as government, like the government's way of doing something, bad, or if even if that were to be the case, in which it's most likely not, people need to understand that your AI is only as accountable and as knowledgeable as you make it. You
mm,
have to set those preferences. You have to prompt those things. So people that are, they have that fear that, what is this and what it can it become? It's more so like, what will you allow it to be?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I'm just gonna throw out a disclaimer for some of our listeners. Go ahead and grab your dictionary. Can you give a breakdown a little bit on the metacognition part of it? I think I'm understanding you when you're saying when you're saying that it's less about, okay, what are we it is about what we're programming, but it's also about how our brains work and understanding how our brains work and how that's going to affect that space as well when you're talking about the metacognition part. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, that's super interesting because I think that's one thing that's left out a lot, right? People, again, there's this fear of, kind of what's coming down the pike as far as people's jobs and all these different things. And I've even heard some people kind of delve into well, if you overuse AI, then you're gonna lose out on some of your ability to do your own critical thinking. But the part where we don't necessarily understand how we process thoughts and how we would either gain or lose based on our processing and our attention spans, for instance. I think that's a super interesting piece. Can you go in a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so like basically a lot of like I noticed that a lot of people have a hard time or they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, it's sending me, it just keeps saying the same thing over and over again," or like
Hmm.
you can't talk to a computer the way you and I talk.
Right, right.
You cannot talk to a system like that. And so in the landscape right now that we're dealing with, we have the relationship between AI and humans that has moved past the tool and the user and into a state of connected intelligence.
Hmm.
So essentially, we learn together things
Hmm.
that you might not know. Why else would you be going to Chat GPT or Claude? Because there's something that you don't know.
Right.
So that is essentially when you're doing that, you're also training the models.
Hmm.
So if there's a section in your settings from any large language model that you use, and it's your preferences, and then it'll tell you would you like to aid in training this model?
Hmm.
You just select yes, and it'll gradually learn with you, and it will actually become adaptive to you. It'll start talking to you the way you talk to, like the way you speak.
Right.
It'll talk to you like that and everything. So I think the symbiosis works like this. So specifically through the lens of metacognition and okay, we could put it to AI and telecoms.
Hmm.
So AI helps humans scale the unperceivable.
Right.
Humans are excellent at high level strategy, but we are horrible at monitoring 10 million data points
So true.
simultaneously.
So true.
So AI helps us by handling the cognitive load
Mm,
that would otherwise cause us to freeze.
yeah.
So if you ever notice like you start getting frustrated with your chat GPT in your typing, so now you switch to the voice model and you're using
Mm,
the voice model and you're like, oh my gosh, like that's not what I said, or like that's not what no, you can't do it like that. You have to actually physically go in and say what you were wanting
right. Right.
because otherwise it's going to continue to do that. But I think that when we get into that, I've noticed like we consistently prioritize low latency over energy efficiencies in these
Hmm.
scenarios, and that is in like it's super intentional strategy or a potential bias in the
Hmm.
decision making.
Hmm.
So it forces us to think about our thinking, which is where the metacognition comes in.
Mm, gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. This is something I ran into, and I do a lot of writing and stuff like that. And there'll be times where, if I just, I use Grammarly and things like that. But then sometimes I'm just like, okay, I need some, I need some assistance with proofreading on this, and I'll throw a paragraph into Gemini, or I'll throw a paragraph into Chat GPT and say, hey, hit this with a spell check, proofread and flow and make sure it flows right. And one day I got a message from it was on ChatGPT specifically. I got a message that said, "Do you mind, turning on this setting that allows us to train our AI?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
wow. Well, some of this stuff I'm putting in here is my intellectual property. It's information that I've done the outlines for. It's information that I've written. It's my narrative, right? I'm getting proofreading help, but this is my narrative, right? How how do you feel about some of the IP, right? When it goes into there, especially thinking, okay, is this being used by someone else? If if I'm allowing the AI to be trained on this, is it going out into the Google verse, right? For somebody to be able to Google some information and then come back with the information I created. I think you know a little bit about that. Can you explain that a little bit as well?
For sure. So like I know with what okay. In that instance, someone who's just a standard user, they're not
Hmm.
really into the developer side of things.
Right, right.
Their best bet would be to constantly you can save your data from your chat, like all of your chats, all of your
Mhm.
prompts. And I constantly save a file, an updated file of that because anything that ever does get leaked, there's contractual agreements behind it that it's the copyright vacuum and vibe coding and agentic synthesis.
Yeah.
So um basically there are legal frameworks behind that to where they can't take your information and put it anywhere other than into the computer or the model.
Hmm.
So, and it just like I said, it just trains the model for everything, really, voice tone and patterns, So, U.S. Code 102B is which stipulates the copyright protection that does not extend to any idea, procedures, process, system, or method of operation. High-level directives such as requesting your modern intuitive dashboard with a
Hmm.
clean animation, so they can't reuse that. And if you don't have that non-copyrightable or substantial human refactoring requirement for protection, then they can actually use it because it's considered public domain.
Interesting. Gotcha. Wow, wow. And so, wow, that so and you just rattled that off, right? So you this is where that comes in with your background in AI governance, right? So, one thing I'm noticing, right? All this is so new, and now I don't know anything about legal, but you were able to kind of come up with that information that you just said off the top of your head, which I'm sure takes took a lot of time.
Would you like to know why? Would you like to know why? We're
Yes.
about to clock something here. Okay, so
Yes.
I have actually built a basically, so we have like jurisdictions and stuff here for like our executive and
Hmm.
our judiciary. Okay, so I've built one for AI and
Yeah.
it's called GBALO, the Governing Board of AI optimization
Wow.
and latency and optimization.
Yeah.
And so it basically just gives a complete outline for how we could govern AI, even from a magistrate standpoint, even if it came down to an AI judge. I've developed also the coursework for colleges to implement and syllabi for them to implement to be able to be training people for the future, which would be something that would be like an AI judge. Like, okay, have you seen the movie Mercy yet?
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, but I did see the previews and it looks super interesting. It looks good.
How that judge, she couldn't really determine when to help him or how to help him because
Yeah.
she's only okay. That is something that I've been building and how to we can actually implement that as a
Wow.
nation. So the G-Valo specs, so it's the glass substrate protocol,
Mhm.
essentially setting down into the G-Valo framework,
Mm. Wow.
which yeah, it's kind of broad. It's
Yeah.
kind of
No, but I
it's
mean, it's
kind of
super
broad.
interesting. No, it's interesting because you always see, like, you'll see people, like, I don't know if you like remember when, like, Mark Zuckerberg had to keep showing up to Congress and, like, they'll have, like, Sam Altman and all these different people who have to show up to Congress to discuss, what they're doing. And, like, Congress hasn't, and no knock on them. Everybody can't be experts at this stuff, right? But they'll go in there and they'll start asking them questions. You can tell by the questions they're asking, I don't think that they know how any of this
Oh
stuff
no,
works.
they absolutely do. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. If you're not actually talking to accredited systems engineer or accredited developer, they're
Yeah,
not going like you're not going to know because there's so many different things that go into it.
yeah.
Like why, okay, if this is something that needs a data center,
Hmm.
it's huge.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
think people need to understand that as well. Like we're about to be suffering a large water loss because of
Yeah.
these data centers. That's what people need to be afraid of, not if they're going to take their jobs.
Yeah. The actual resource part of it.
The maintenance,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow. Wow. And so with your program, right? And give me that acronym one more time.
GBALO is the
GBALAS.
governing board for latency optimization.
And so with this governance piece, do you think there's a space? And I mean, this may be something you're already working on, but do you think there's a space for you to end up partnering, with the government really
Oh
on.
yeah, absolutely. It's something that I can't say a whole lot right now, but it
Okay,
is
fair
something
enough.
that's in the works with the American AI Council in Washington, D.C. Yes.
Wow. Wow, that's super interesting. I mean, yeah, like, and so I mean that's huge stuff because, again, between, the biggest things I've heard about, right, is the job piece, it's the, intellectual property piece, and it's the resources piece, right? Like you said, the actual natural resources piece. And it seems like if you had someone who was knowledgeable, who had a process and systems ready to be kind of on the front line of protecting human beings in a way, it would take a lot of the anxiety I think that a lot of just normal people have, even if they don't really know, right, some of the background of why they're scared, right? It would take some of the anxiety that normal people have to say, okay, well, somebody does know. Somebody does
Right.
know and is on my side, right? Is kind of looking out, and there's a regulatory backing and
Because
there's governance. Yeah.
somebody has to know exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
People don't like to claim it because they don't like to admit how internal it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They do not like to admit how internal it is.
Mm. That's interesting. That's interesting.
But at the end of the day, a lot of these like high level companies and stuff, they don't know. They don't talk to their senior engineers. They
Hmm.
don't talk to those people.
Yeah.
They don't even talk to their tech department.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like when it comes down to a press conference or a keynote speaking or something, they don't know what to tell you because they don't talk to them. They get a briefing and that briefing is vague. And that's why it seems like everything is so vague. Nobody can ever
Mm,
expand on anything because they were briefed.
yeah.
They
And,
don't know the system.
and you're trying to get a, one page summary on something that cannot be summarized in one page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I also believe that any company or organization that is trying to implement AI, I believe that everybody within their foundation needs to be trained to use AI
Oh,
as if they were for food handling or anything else.
right. Right.
Because
Exactly.
there's also a very significant danger in a lot of the fluff that we put out. We put
Yeah.
a lot of fluff out
Oh,
just
yeah.
by just BS chats. Like, people, you can see videos of 30-minute long videos of people just playing with their AI or testing it and playing with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That is actually so dangerous, and people don't even understand
Yeah. Because then you're getting this negative
because we're
feedback
just
loop.
spreading a lot of data.
Yeah, and
Yep.
nobody knows if it's true or not. It's just been said a lot, and so it's taken as the truth. And I think the same thing happens
And
in
you're
the human
confusing the
mind.
system.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think the same thing happens in the human mind. I think we're seeing a lot that the same thing happens inside the human mind. That if you say it enough, then people start to believe, oh, it's the truth, right? So I think the same thing happens. It
Exactly. Yep.
okay. So we've been super technical, Sierra.
Well, I
Let's.
saw it on the
Sorry.
internet.
Exactly. I saw it had to be true.
Also,
It
I
had
was
to be
just
true.
piggybacking off or camelbacking off.
No, no. You're 100% right. No, you're
Yep.
100% right. And so one thing I do want to I want to get with you about, I want to ask you about is your background, right? How did you get started in this? I know that you're from Kentucky like me, right? We're both out of Kentucky. But can you tell me a little bit about your education? Tell me sort of how you got started into this field and sort of uh your way from education into sort of the just fast-paced and really high-level world that you've entered, your transition
Okay.
into that.
For sure. Okay, so this is gonna sound like wildly absurd because I have such a broad it all started when I very first started college, I was doing business and marketing.
Hmm.
And it from business and marketing, that's how I got into like the trading and stuff like that, the quantitative side of it, because I actually do work with Wall Street as a quantitative as well.
Mm. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm a lady of many
I
hats, got
see. I
many
see.
heels, got many heels.
I like that.
And so I got into the marketing, and then I was just like, I don't think I want to do this. I think I want to get into the artificial intelligence side of it because I cannot handle what I cannot understand.
Right.
That is a hard personal fact of mine.
I understand. You got to know yourself. Know yourself.
That systems thinking,
Yeah.
that's what made me know. Like I was talking to a couple of people one day, and it was just friends casually, and one of them is actually also a systems engineer,
Hmm.
and she was like, you think like an engineer, you should get into engineering or
Yeah.
ISO, and I was like, maybe I'll try it, and then I found that I'm extremely extremely good at it, and that's like STEM is my thing. STEM
Yeah.
is my thing.
Nice.
I know that some people call themselves the queens of AI, but I feel like they might not be.
Right.
I'm not biased.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think people are who they are, and if that's who you want to be, that's who you are.
There you go.
But I also think that we also need to really foreground ourselves in understanding these systems.
Right.
You might not know how to work it or whatever, but it's essentially it's like a second mind. They're trying to do like a second mind.
Hmm.
And that's what it's bound to be. So, anyways, going back to my education, I'm sorry about that. Got off
That's all
topic.
right. That's all right.
Um, but yeah, I started off when I started going to school. I started off at the University of Arkansas,
Hmm.
and then I went to virtually, actually only virtually, and then I started going to the University of Louisville. I'm like, I was like, okay, I needed because I only had a GED.
Hmm.
But when I got my GED, I didn't have to take any classes. I didn't have to do. I literally went to take my pretest,
Right.
and I was taking my GED the next week. I
Wow.
got my results back. I had higher scores than all of my teachers. And like I had
Wow.
3 or 4 teachers that actually had a GED and that had higher scores than them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, with that being said, in Kentucky, you cannot go straight to a university from having a GED. You actually
Right.
do have to do at least 2 years of community college.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'll just do that online.
Hmm.
And then when I'm ready, I'll be able to go here on campus.
Right.
As soon as that was the case, that's what I did. And University of Louisville actually really kickstarted the biggest doors to open for me because I was going for my MBA there, and then they actually that's how okay, so that's where the law side of it came in was the MBA,
Right.
and that's where I was like, okay, I want to do AI, I want to do governance.
Mhm.
I'm going to do AI governance.
Yeah.
So that's how that all got started, and then I was in contact with a couple of people at the University of Kentucky, and they were students there, and they were in their tech program and their AI program, and they were talking to me about, developing the core curriculum for a bachelor's.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's how so we developed the artificial intelligence bachelor last year. It actually went into effect this spring, so we actually have students at the University of Kentucky doing that
Wow.
right now.
Wow. That's insane. So,
And
so you were,
yes, and actually, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, so you were actually, you went from actually being in school to actually creating a bachelor's program for AI governance.
Yes, and I'm actually still in school.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still going. Actually, I graduate in December, and I'll
Wow.
be as far as I can go before my PhD. So,
Oh wow. Wow.
and
That's
it's
amazing.
and actually it's I've gotten I actually got the partnership with IBM.
Yeah.
So that partnership helps me get additional training for my school
Hmm.
and that being part of the CATS AI. So with that, I got um I'm going to be I teach online for I
Hmm.
do it at a couple different tutoring places, and I'm actually a professor at with Allison.com,
Oh yeah.
and I actually teach artificial intelligence there too, so we're getting that going in multiple platforms. So and it's my original, like, I created the design itself, I created the entire syllabi.
Yeah.
And I also have done it for K through 12 as well, so it's not just higher education.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So
But
it's
now I did 4 years at the University of Louisville, and I'm in my sixth year at the University of Kentucky.
nice. Nice. So you're pretty much, I mean, that's the master's path, right? Correct? Is on that?
Yes.
Nice. Nice. Well, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you're not just in school too, right? You're not just doing your own schoolwork. You're progressing the field, and you're also working with large organizations to make sure that they understand AI governance as well. Most people have 24 hours in a day. How many do you have? Because when do you get all this stuff? That's pretty amazing. That is impressive. That is
I
impressive.
think I sleep maybe like 4 to 6 hours a night, but that's really all we need. That's all we need.
No,
That's all
honestly,
we need.
that's
Because
it.
listen, I'd be lying if I did not say that I took a couple cat naps throughout the day for 10 or 15 minutes at my desk.
Nothing wrong with that either. Nothing wrong with that either.
Nobody's looking. I'm just gonna turn my head and face the window and put my hand on the side of my face. But yes,
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
honestly it's honoring and it's a humbling experience because
Yeah.
I had no idea how okay, I've always been really good with computers.
Yeah.
So as a kid, I was in the gifted and talented program, and that was something that my mom said that I remember her telling me that that was something that they had spoke with her about. Like,
Yeah.
I have a computer like mine. And like growing up, I was never the cool kid because
Yeah.
everybody called me like walking encyclopedia and stuff. But I always had this information, but I never knew how I knew it.
Right.
And that was really what sparked my interest. That's really what made me want to go to college, is because I wanted to know why my mind is the way it is.
Yeah.
And I've always I was the why kid. Like,
Yeah.
why is this? Why? Why? But why? But why?
Yeah.
And now I know, like, we should never question that, because those are our greatest thinkers. These are
Correct.
going to be the people that shape the future, because people don't ask enough questions, and that's just
No.
the reality of it. People are so okay with being, just because it comes from Fox, or just because it comes from your pastor, or just because it
Yeah.
comes from your mom, even,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean to not use your discernment and have your own opinion on things, or ask questions, because you can ask questions.
Exactly. And it's only just now, I think, that people are starting to actually appreciate those kids who ask why, right? Well, why is it like that? It used to be a thing where it's like, oh, this kid has too many questions, but now it's more, okay, this is
Because
a
I said
curious
so, but
kid.
that's not enough.
Exactly, exactly. And not only that, we need to, I don't need to be, throwing a wet blanket over top of this curiosity. I need to be, throwing gasoline on it, right? I need to make sure that
Exactly.
you use that and you keep it going. And I think that that's something that's only really just now being looked at as a positive thing, right? Unfortunately, as kids, we missed that. The good thing for us is that we were able to
For
keep
real
it.
though.
We were able to keep it, but a lot of times that creativity and that curiosity and that imagination is stamped out for people. And
Right.
now I think people are really starting to see that that is not something that you know, get on that kid about for being curious. You lift them up. And so I want to ask you another question. So it's
Mhm.
obvious, right? You're doing a lot of things. You're, of course you're still in school. You're a continuous learner. You're, doing great work with large organizations and with building out
Just opened my company.
yeah, just open your company, right, right, yeah. And so I'm going to get into that a little bit too. I do want to ask though, some of these spaces that you're in, right, let alone, minorities of any sort, right? As a Black woman operating in very high level and technical spaces, right? We've been talking to you now, and you obviously are operating at a high level. Um, you're in rooms that a lot of people just don't find themselves in. I'm sure that, like I said, when you look around, you find that you may be the only Black woman in some of these rooms, or even the
Yeah.
only
Oh,
woman.
yes.
Yeah, or even the
Oh,
only
yes.
woman, right? And so, with that being the case, how do you show up in those rooms, but not only be there, also influence the direction of the conversation, right? Which I know that you're doing, right? So, can you tell me a little bit about how you show up in those rooms, and then how you also kind of influence what's happening?
So I show up because I know at the end of the day, if they're calling me in those rooms and I am present in those rooms,
Hmm.
it's because there's something that people don't understand. So
Hmm.
I know that essentially you all need me here.
Yes.
So that means that at base value, you're
Uh-huh.
gonna hear what I gotta say because you need to.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna use that and I'm gonna basically just catapult off of that
Hmm.
and use that to say as much as I need to say
Hmm.
in as little amount of time
Yeah.
and with as forward and as like I use a sterner voice
Hmm.
and I just kind of make sure that I have everybody's attention.
Hmm.
um I'll do certain gestures
Hmm.
and things, and then when I notice that people are like, okay, this all sounds good, but we're not skin folks, so what about that? What are we gonna do about that?
Hmm.
How are we gonna tell them that sure what's behind this?
Hmm.
I just kind of I navigate to a way I navigate to a state of fact.
Yeah.
So I'll go to actual real facts,
Yeah.
well, right now as of current,
Hmm.
actual credibly licensed Black women that are in the tech and AI space,
Hmm.
there are 2% in the world.
Hmm.
There are 22% in the world, and
Hmm.
2% of that 22% are Black women.
Hmm. Hmm.
So 22% women in the world that are operating in these spaces
Hmm.
at this level, and only 2% of them are Black women.
Hmm.
That gets them going like, okay, now we got to listen a little bit more because now it's a
Hmm.
diversity thing.
Hmm.
And then when you actually get that there and you can open it up to really show them what you know. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what I do. I boom, hit them with it. Bow, bow, bow. This, and this.
Yeah.
And it's undeniable at that point because
Yes.
if you would have thought about it, you would have thought about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I no, I think you're 100% right. It's like, I'm here, right? So I'm supposed to be, right? You're not just going and looking for random people to be here. I am here, right? So that means I
It's
was
the head
supposed to be in
scratch
this
for
room.
them. It just makes them scratch their head because like they've got the wrong idea, I think,
Yeah.
and that doesn't. It's largely our own faults as well too, but not everybody is that way,
Yeah,
And I
of
think that
course.
people can change. And some of the I think that some of the best minds in the world that I've ever talked to are people that have gone through some of the worst things you can imagine.
Sure.
And just because they've had a rough time or a rough patch does not mean that they are not credible minds or
Agreed.
valuable minds. You cannot knock the people that you can't knock what you don't understand.
A lot of us, especially at our age, right? Because we uh, you know, we're old enough to have remembered a little bit of the analog days, but we definitely know the internet days, right? And we're coming
Right.
into the AI days. And
But it's so
some
crazy to think like back when we was kids, we literally to get on the internet we had to hear
Yep. But it was
like
normal.
it's the
Yeah,
evolution.
exactly. And all that stuff was normal to us. And now we're like, oh my goodness, what are our kids gonna do? And it's like, oh, they'll be fine because they are figuring
Because
this
they can
stuff
wear
out.
glasses and see the world.
They are, and they know what to do, right? They pick it up in no time. They're just, it's their minds are sponges right now, and they're picking up all this stuff. And
It's
so,
crazy though when you
yeah.
think about it, because if you think about just walking through Walmart or something, it'll be a 2-year-old child operating an iPad at full function. Like
The whole thing, right? Not just
the
the
whole thing.
base.
They've got
Yeah.
multiple tabs open and everything. Like,
You're so right. You're so right. And so I want to jump back into something that we were talking about a little bit, and it was your entrepreneurial venture, right? So can you tell me a little bit about your business? If I recall, Sierra Warren Developments, correct?
yes, sir, LLC.
Yeah.
So what I do is so what I have developed, built, just completely doused myself in. Um, Head first. And sometimes I think that my britches might have been a little bit too big, but I don't think that it's nothing that I can't handle. So what we do here at Sierra One Developments is it's an AI hub for
Mhm,
developers or programmers, and it's something that they can come. Which there's a physical address at 721
mhm.
McGoffin Street, Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Um, and it's they can come here and they can run their codes through my system that I developed so that with the governance,
Hmm.
the GSP, they
Yep.
can run their stuff through my program and just kind of fact check it or just make sure everything runs true. Um, just sit there to do their builds, come in for help, stuff like that. I get a lot of people that come in and they try to stream or they'll do their webinars and stuff. And I think that's really cool because I can learn from them as well. And like
Right.
we like to trade secrets and little tips and tricks and stuff. And it's really cool. So it's something that we do here. And then not only that, but we have different speakers and stuff. And so my services that I offer range though from web development, mobile app development, algorithmic uh, algorithmic design,
Hmm.
like with the trading quant simulator.
Hmm.
That actually was a demo build that I did for a job for Martech, and that was another one that I used for the Wall Street
Yeah.
Oasis. Yeah, so that's how that came about.
Wow.
So it's just like a little thing, and it's just little things. Like if you just think about something that you're interested in, things that the way I would tell people to do it is like the way I tell, okay, say you wanted to be, this is something you wanted to do because a lot of people you'll see advertisements that say stuff like, build an app today,
Mm.
no coding experience
Yeah.
necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, and that gets done. And then people are like, well, where's my app? How do I get it out of there? You come to Sierra One Developments, and I'm gonna show you how
There
to get
you
it,
go.
your app from a vibe coding app to actually launched on an app.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Wow. So that's actually really cool. And I can definitely see that there would be a big market for that. And not only just that part of the service part, it sounds like there's collaboration that happens there. I think that's a really cool piece.
There's a lot of partnership opportunities are available,
Yeah.
and I speak. I don't mind to go speak. Any university or educational institutions I speak at for free. Free of charge. I do not charge for those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just for the advancements of education and
Agreed.
artificial intelligence.
Hmm.
Definitely heavily dedicated to that, and that's one of our biggest mission statements
Yeah.
at Sierra One Developments is we're heavily dedicated to just the reliability and the um, accountability of
Yeah.
artificial intelligence
Wow. Wow. That's
and
great.
those systems that are built on it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's one thing I heard the other day. It was comparing AI to what will one day be like your light services, right? Like for in our situation, LG&E and KU, right? They said that AI is not necessarily going to be, this thing that is a tool that you have that you add on, right? It's going to be the underlay for things, right? And I had never heard of it, uh, you know, described that way. But I did think that was a very interesting thought. And so with that, let me ask you this. So if we zoom out, what are the biggest risks you see in how AI systems are currently being designed and deployed at scale?
Oh, okay. So I think that a large way to look at that stuff, and I think that people need to understand first and foremost that what at scale means.
Hmm.
At scale is like the whole thing, like
Hmm.
the whole thing.
Hmm.
everything about it, front end, back end, full stack, whole thing.
Right. Right.
And I think that you know, large language models are trained on the internet, which
Hmm.
is essentially the digital collective unconscious. And it
Mm.
doesn't just learn our facts, it learns our shadow,
Yeah.
our biases, our repressed thoughts, how we really feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as engineers, we have to act as therapists for these algorithms, identifying the shadow in the
Interesting.
training data and aligning it through architecture, not just filters.
Yeah.
So, like here, okay, for instance, with my company, if they ask about data privacy, we use sovereign architecture and local inference, and the
Mm.
model lives on the user's hardware. So we don't use a central cloud to be smart.
Yeah.
It never leaves the user's hardware.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then, a lot of the bias behind it, like biases and engineering failure to the collective unconscious or the training data. And we solve that by moving from reactive filters to deterministic rules in engines like CogniTwin, another app that I've developed.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
like a digital twin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Wow, that's super interesting. Okay. Okay.
Like, I think that, so one thing that I've noticed, like, I went to a AI symposium last year in
Hmm.
Washington, D.C., and actually got flown out by my school.
Hmm.
The University of Kentucky,
Yeah.
actually flew me out there because we have a program called Cats at the White House,
Yeah.
and it's for students that are into, law or governance and stuff, and they have a lot of really cool programs, and that's how I actually got in contact with the American AI Council.
Yeah.
But anyway, I went out there and they were telling us that that's something that's going to be the heaviest shift is
Yeah.
the keeping it sovereign. And I'm thinking that's because, that does, I hate to say this, and this is allegedly, but I
Hmm.
think that's because that leaves a little bit of room for, a little bit of fun.
I see. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So if it stays sovereign, that kind of still gives a little bit of leeway where they can kind of do what they want, but they can't do what they want.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right. There's
So
there's there's
that's
guidelines. There's guidelines,
and
but
that's where
enough
the
but
GSP
wiggle
comes
room
in.
too. Gotcha. Yep, yep, exactly. Yeah.
Nobody is exempt. Everybody, because somebody's got to tell. It's like, okay, you can turn your TV on, but your show's not just going to start playing.
No. Yeah. You gotta know what you want to watch, you gotta know where to find it.
You can hit your Amazon button on your remote, but you're still going to have to go to the show.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. All right.
And so I
Yeah.
think about stuff like that, and that's just how I really like. I think about things in the most complex ways, and I think that has really been my kind of my holy grail in the midst of all of this. Like, I don't build software; I build nervous systems for industrial and human infrastructure. That's what I do.
But I think that's good because I think that's a good framework to think about it, right? Because one group of people who really has things down as far as systems is are doctors, right? People who understand the human anatomy. And so if you're able to look at this as an anatomy of its own, then, it gives you a framework for how to actually put things in order. And I think that that's a great way of looking at it.
I feel like if you can't explain the math behind the AI's decision, you didn't
Mhm.
build a tool; you built
Yeah.
a liability.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And
And I
so,
think a lot of
yeah,
time people go into things thinking that, oh yes, I've got it mapped out, everything looks good, and it might look great. You might even win a hackathon with it.
right.
But there's going to come a point where it's going to be a brick wall
Yep.
because it's not going to. And that's one thing when I'm building my systems, that's one thing that I get into is what will make this build be able to function in multiple environments, A, and B, will keep it um, at an accountability standard that would be considered, I guess, credible and liable
Yeah.
without breaking anything within the system's infrastructure naturally.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, and I think, the other side of that, right, is like you said, if you don't understand how it works, you're gonna run into a problem at some point and you're not gonna know what to do. So
Right. And that's why we need the human in the loop systems, though,
that's it.
because the technology should enhance human judgment, not replace it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like, you can go to your chat GPT and be like, hey, these are my options and I don't know what to do.
Hmm.
Chat GPT can give you options, but that doesn't mean take it and run with it. That's like people, people that are saying that people are suffering and things are happening, bad, tragic things are happening because of the
Right.
AI. No, 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 no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, come on now.
It's working as it was built. It's working as it was built. Right?
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's systems in general.
Yeah. Exact. Any of them. Any of them. Right.
Yep. I think we really, people as a whole, we put a lot of pressure on things, and pressure busts pipes.
It does.
And I
It
think
does.
that goes into everything with life, period,
Yeah.
especially systems. And systems aren't just networks and databases.
Hmm.
Systems are your family system, your
Absolutely.
job system, the way your job functions. Your
Hmm.
system is your system.
Yeah.
And you always want to make sure that you know your system from the inside out.
Exactly. Exactly. And then when there is
If
pressure,
something breaks, you
yeah.
need to be able to
Yeah.
tell, and it's your system. You
Yeah.
need to be, if something breaks, you need to be able to be like, oh, hey, don't worry about it. That's this, and this, and boom. And it should be able to be fixed by anybody.
Exactly.
That's a
Exactly.
system.
Deep learning, deep understanding. Absolutely. Absolutely. So on the other side of that, right, we've talked about some of the risk. So on the other side, do you see let's just try to be optimistic for a minute. Do you see any places where there are opportunities that aren't as explored when it comes to AI that maybe people just aren't looking at close enough that could really be helpful?
So when I go into building and I'm thinking about new things, or I've got a brilliant idea,
Hmm.
I I run it through my LLM. I run it through my large language model, and I'm just like, hey, show me 5 topics that are not widely discussed or only have 1 to 5 articles on the internet, but they're not official documents. They're just research documents.
Hmm.
So show me things that have no actual documentation yet.
Yeah.
And they'll pull up things, or one of my like infamous Google searches, being it because it's on all of my devices, it pops up at the first thing every time,
Yeah.
is what is something that people want to know most about.
Mm.
Take that with what I just said about, showing me the things that are not being widely discussed.
Yeah.
Your AI is going to be your best friend.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's how I start. That's what gets me started. So one of the things that I like, one of the concepts that I have been really looking into is um okay, like silver economy tech. So while
Hmm.
every startup is trying to capture Gen Z's 8-second attention span,
Right.
the wealthiest demographic is seniors, and
Yeah.
they're largely ignored by modern UI and UX design.
Yeah.
They're because they think that old people aren't, they're not picking up an iPad. They're not, but they are though.
They are.
And a lot of people don't realize, like in the medical side of this, from a medical standpoint, a lot of people's devices
Hmm.
are artificial intelligence. My youngest son, he has medical devices that are connected to his iPad. I actually
Mm.
just built a system for him as well for
Wow.
his iPad. Yes, so that I can tap into his stuff. And I actually used a Fitbit. I took an old Fitbit, rerouted the system to the Fitbit,
Yeah.
like on that, and that's how I connected it to his iPad.
Wow.
But like the seniors and stuff, they are using them more than people think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think, just as a point of principle, ignoring a group of people in design of something this big is probably not a good look, right? As a point of principle.
No, no, and that's exactly where the gap is. But I think for opportunity, like
Hmm.
opportunity wise,
Yeah.
I think that sophisticated smart home integration,
Oh yeah.
specifically for mobility impaired users and
Yes.
social
Wow.
platforms that combat elder isolation.
We should have took that one offline because we could have started a business with that one. We should have took that one
That's a
offline.
free one. That's a free one.
That's good. Wow. That's super interesting. Wow. Okay. And so
Which will eliminate a whole lot of hospice people
yeah.
and people's family members getting harmed and abused.
Yes. Yes.
So, like,
Exactly.
okay, with the University of Kentucky, they built the Timmy robot. The Timmy robot is essentially our doorman. He
Yeah.
greets you at the door at the hospital,
Uh-huh.
and so he's capable of seating you, getting you triaged as far as like taking your blood pressure and stuff, all that. But what I've recently done is I gave Timmy a nose,
Yeah.
and so now he can smell. He has urine detection. He has a urine detection system
Wow.
where
Yeah.
he can, if he goes into in a patient's room or something, they can tell if they've soiled themselves. He can also now tell, he can read you your x-ray results and stuff, essentially
Mhm.
not taking the nurse's job or a doctor's job,
Sure.
but making it easier by
Exactly.
going ahead and having you prepped before they come in there, so that when they come in there and tell you this information, you've already kind of got a knowledge of it.
Exactly.
They've like Timmy's already came in there, gave you the rundown, gave you the the WebMD of it and all that.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
now when your doctor tells you, it's not so like brash, A,
Right.
and B, it's like, okay, well, this is not knowing what I know, like it just makes it easier for the doctors and the nurses. And I think that that's a great thing because one thing I hate going to the hospital is
Yeah.
that 2 to 4 hour wait for them
Yes.
x-rays or
Yes.
results.
Exactly. That's the most, I'm
So I
sure
think
it's
I
got to
built
be.
something grand. I built something grand.
I
And
love
you
it.
know what I
Yeah.
did? I signed on to the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I'm a student here. You all are letting me use your AI hub.
Yeah.
You all are letting me use your all stuff. And you're all essentially, I'm learning here still.
Hmm.
Here, this is dedicated to the University of Kentucky. Here you
Wow.
go.
Yeah.
Take that. And
Yeah.
the dedication dedicated to just the advancement of artificial intelligence and human connection
Yeah.
because it's inevitable. That's the
Right.
thing.
It is.
It's not going to go back. We're not going to go backwards at all when it comes to this.
No.
Actually, it's going to be, it is so gradually, and I mean, not gradually, it is just so increasingly evolving every day. Like,
Mm.
if you're not staying in the books on this, you're
Yeah.
going to be out the loop before you know it.
Oh yeah. Oh
There's so
yeah.
much more than like artificial intelligence. Like, people don't realize we have literally been tinkering with downloadable intelligence.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, and that's so much grander. And people have no idea, like the networks and these the web networks and just the different connections and why we're getting certain types of towers and why we're getting certain new technology stuff that people don't even realize what it's really for.
Right.
All the way down to like the piping or the wiring of like our cables and stuff in the house. Like if people notice, like the cables are changing, the thickness of the things are changing for a reason
Right. Right.
because these systems that are being built and stuff like these, if we're to a point where we can't just apparent like we said in the beginning, we started off with having to have the dial up, so we had to hear the ground first, and
Hmm.
then now we got the fiber optics,
Yeah.
and then in the air phone cables and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like now, what do you think? We're having data centers, and we're definitely about to have to level that up.
Oh yeah. Exactly. I don't
Like
even know if
I
people
don't,
know what that looks like yet, right? So
uh-uh.
yeah.
No, and I think that something else that I would be here. This might be another free gem, but like last mile logistics,
Yeah.
like localized fintech and private like education in cities that are growing at 3 to 5% annually, but lack the glamour of capital cities.
Hmm.
Speaking of like on that note, like that would be really cool too. So like a good opportunity to do with AI.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think that's another great one right there.
Like the satellite cities. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But
Because
you
that.
see how my brain thinks? Like we were just
Yeah.
talking about this small stuff, like local small stuff. And like,
Yeah.
but that fast, it got that far out there.
Exactly. Because more cities like that than there are in New York, LA, and Chicago, right? And so, I mean, there's a huge market for that. And so along those same lines, just for our listeners, right? We've had a really good conversation, and you dropped so many really good gems. I do want to ask though, for our listeners, if somebody was out there right now, right, and you kind of told us your background, but if somebody's out there right now and they're looking to take their interest in AI into something where they can be of an impact, what do you think their first serious step should be? What do you think how do you think they could just get into getting started with that?
I think that the very, very, very first thing that they need to do is figure out what end of it they want to be on.
Mm.
So build yourself a blueprint because it gets crazy. Okay. It gets crazy. So like I like to look at it like build yourself a cork board
Yeah.
and say, okay, this is how far I'm willing to go and what I'm willing to understand, and this is how far I'm not willing to go and willing to understand. Because if you merge the two, you will find yourself lost in an AI universe that nobody understands. And then you'll kind of everything will start running together, which is how my builds and my products got so broad,
Hmm.
is because I got into so many different things, but I also put myself through like self-sabotage basically because I have zero life. Like I have zero life. But I think that if you wanted to move beyond like the cool party trick stage and into like tangible real world impact, the secret isn't in the code, but it's in the context.
Yeah.
So impact will happen when you apply AI to a boring problem that has existed for decades.
Yeah.
And and here like the like now the things are going so fast and at such a rapid rate. Like it's just every day it's something new.
Yeah.
Like or every like okay, McDonald's, it went from having the kiosk right there at the register to
Hmm.
a literal stand-up machine that you're just putting your stuff in, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think impact is most measurable when you like remove the bottleneck.
Yes.
Look for industries where humans are acting like glue
Yeah.
between two systems and copying data, summarizing long reports, or performing manual inspections. The move would be don't build a general chatbot. Build a specialized agent for a
Yeah.
a specific vertical.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I like it.
And
I like
you're not competing with big tech, you're solving a
right.
niche
For
problem.
specifically, like you said, whether it's McDonald's or whether it's CVS, right? Or, or something like you said, where it's just, I've created a program that brings dignity back to a person who is patient in a hospital, right? And yeah,
Right.
finding those niche things that, I don't need to build the whole architecture. I can find this piece and I can build really well for that specialization. I think that's
Right.
awesome. I think that's awesome advice.
So I like back to kind of towards the okay, so like AI's greatest superpower is its ability to lower the floor of a skill.
Hmm.
It can make a junior tech perform like a senior tech,
Right.
and like building tools that augment rather than replace is
Hmm.
like an okay, for example, an AI powered diagnostic assistant for solar panel repair in regions where
Hmm.
certified engineers are scarce.
Yeah.
Now, in that instance, now you've just scaled an entire industry's workforce capacity.
Wow. Yeah. Absolutely. Wow. Yeah.
Or like we was talking, most AI lives in a massive data center. Real world impact often happens where
Yeah.
there's no interest or very limited power. And I think that agricultural sensors or remote medical clinics, like exploring tiny ML, it's
Hmm.
machine learning on microcontrollers.
Hmm.
So creating a $5 sensor that uses AI to detect crop disease in real time without a cloud connection has a
Wow.
much higher impact than another AI image generator.
So true. He says there's only so many of those you can build, but like you said, when you really start fixing problems, that's when you start seeing the real use cases of this stuff take off.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Sierra, this has been a great conversation. Before we roll, one last thing I want to ask you: are there any podcasts you keep up with, or articles, or things like that that you keep up with that you want to recommend to people out there, or even if they're just for
You
fun?
know it. Shout out to my girls over at Black Girls Who Code.
Black Girls Who Code. Okay.
And then and then Major League Hacking.
Major
I
League.
follow a lot of Major League Hacking because I do a lot with them.
Okay.
And and then honestly, I get on LinkedIn. So I don't those are like the main two podcasts I listen to because
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of biased on that. I listen
Yeah.
to myself.
I
So I
like it
have
though.
my own podcast. It's called She Velop.
She
So
developed.
SHE
Oh,
period
nice.
VELOP.
Okay. Yeah.
And on all podcast platforms, Apple
Nice.
Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And I also go live and do webinars and stuff in my Discord and my Twitch. And I'll actually send you the links too for the description for those as well.
Perfect, perfect. Sierra, Warren, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. And honestly, I'd like to do this again, or, I'll talk to you again on your podcast at some point. Because
Hmm.
this has been amazing. And again,
We're
thank
gonna get
you.
into the nodes and the
Right.
pipelines of things.
That's right. That's
So
right.
today we told them how to set up their infrastructures and how to use AI. And the
Uh-huh.
next time they hear us talking together, we're gonna be hearing about the nitty gritty.
The nitty gritty, right? The underlay. Yes.
The underlay to the overlay. That's what we're gonna call it. That's the show title. The
That
underlay to the overlay.
sounds good to me. Sounds good to
So
me.
stay tuned, everybody. Thank you, NAMIC St. Louis, too, for the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you, Sierra. We'll look forward to speaking to you again. And in the meantime, everyone, have a great rest of your month. Thank you.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you found it encouraging and insightful. With over 15 chapters nationwide, NAMIC is passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the communications industry, with a wider range of professional development opportunities, networking events, and leadership programs. NAMIC is dedicated to empowering multi-ethnic diversity in the media and communications industry. Members gain access to valuable resources, industry insight, and an incredible community of like-minded professionals. For more information, go to NAMIC.com or to the NAMIC St. Louis chapter at NAMICSt.Louis.com or LinkedIn at LinkedIn.com/NAMIC St. Louis. Thank you and have a wonderful month. See you next time.